Welcome to the North Indian Derby. Yes, indeed, this is a big one. It's not just because it's two teams who know each other well, clashing, but it's because of the significance of the game that makes it even more important. Match number 64 from the outskirts of Mumbai, the DY Patil Stadium, and that is what we're looking forward to tonight. It's blue against red, and of course, the two traditional colors. If it were a boxing match, the blue corner and the red corner. Let me see who we have in the two respective corners. I'm not sure who I'll classify as blue and red, but here on Cricbuzz Live, let's go and meet the panel. Lisa Sthalekar, Joy Bhattacharjya joining us. Joy, I'll let you pick which corner you'd rather be in. Not that we're having only the players are.
No, but just, this is one of those matches that you look forward to watching. It doesn't matter. It's one of those matches where both will land a lot of haymaker blows. So I love it. Two teams with the highest batting averages in this tournament, both of them going against each other. I'll be really disappointed. I don't care who wins, but if this match ends with less than 400 runs scored today, I'd be really disappointed.
And Lisa, what Joy just said, the irony of it all, the two teams with the highest batting averages, but guess what happened the last time the two teams met in this tournament? 115 all out, played 116 for whatever they got when they chased it down. So that was the irony of the reverse fixture.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Because there's such historical results that have happened over time. So I think it'll be interesting as well today because you get a sense that they're going to do something a little bit different. Punjab have won the toss and have actually elected to bowl first. Now, they're a side that actually like to bat first. So I find it fascinating in this crucial match for both teams that they've gone away from something that's been fairly successful for them.
Yep, we can actually remind you what's happened at the toss. Mayank Agarwal strode out confidently and said he'd like to bowl first, which took Deep Dasgupta and all of us by surprise. But yeah, Joy, I mean, just looking into that, we're at that stage in the tournament. Day game doesn't matter. Evening game, win toss, bat first, put runs on the board. Wickets are getting a little bit tired, but he's gone against the grain.
Yeah, I just think that last time, the experience that they had last time, they just collapsed. And I think somewhere there, they're saying that I'm not particularly sure how this pitch will play, but we are good enough to adjust to any conditions when we chase. I think it's more that they don't know exactly how tired the pitch is, or they don't want to take a chance with the pitch. Whenever a team doesn't want to take a chance with the pitch, they'd rather bowl first. And I think right now, they might think you might be a factor, though it hasn't really been a huge factor in the last 7-10 days. But yeah, just hoping against hope. But yeah, I think that's what it is. They just don't know how tired these pitches are.
Is it also the nature of the clash, Lisa? It's a crucial game. You just want to say, okay, you guys go and put the runs on the board. We don't know what a pass score is as far as today is concerned. So we'll just follow we'll follow your lead, basically.
Yeah, a little bit of that. And maybe the fact that, from a batting perspective, that Johnny Bairstow, Liam Livingstone, hopefully Mayank as well, can be able to pace their innings depending on whatever total they put up there. Shikhar Dhawan, his experience, Rajapaksa as well, he's been excellent for them. So they've got the batting to chase down a total. For them now, it's up to their bowlers to keep it to a modest total as well, because if the pitches are tired, then you don't want Axar Patel and the spinners to come into it. So they've got to be careful.
And those are the guys who actually went through that batting in that first game. The 115 all out. It was a time when Punjab were flying high. They were looking out for Livingstone. People were taking cover in the stands. People in the neighboring houses were closing their balconies because Livingstone was batting. But suddenly you're seeing Livingstone gone. I think he got out to Akshar Patel. And the slower bowlers really strangled Punjab that day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is the important thing, the way they played. And I think what you'll see out here is that you look at that Punjab team, the one change that has made a huge difference to them, and it's very interesting, is Bhanuka Rajapaksa coming in. Because what it's really done for them is that I feel that you had a situation where Bairstow when he was batting, he was looking over his shoulder because there wasn't much depth out there. There was Shahrukh who was not in form, and then they had Odian, who is really he's a one-dimensional batsman. He's not a batsman who can hold the innings. If you're suddenly 71 for 4, he's not the kind of guy who'll bat 10 overs. You want him to bat 3, maximum 4 overs. What's happened with Bhanuka Rajapaksa, another aggressive international top order batsman coming in, is I think Bairstow and Livingston are playing with a little more freedom, knowing that there's one more cover behind us. And that's made a huge difference to the team. So that change, and then basically Rishi Dhawan coming in, bowling some useful overs, can bat a bit. So that's basically that change. And, you know, you look at it, they've sacrificed one of their most expensive players, Shah Rukh Khan, because he's not in form. And they walked through with it. But they are now looking, they are clear that this is the team they want. You can make out by the way Mayank spoke today as well that these are the guys we now finally, and Punjab knowing their combination at any time in a year, I'm delighted for them.
It's not bad if on halfway through May you actually find your best 11, Lisa.
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to find it a little bit earlier, but you get a sense that this IPL, it's taken a lot of franchises a lot longer than in the past, simply because of so many changes within the squad, core groups of players moving on, new international players coming in, new domestic players. So it's taken a lot longer, but if you're there before, you know, whilst you still have a chance of making the finals, that's good enough, isn't it?
Fair enough. But remember, we said North Indian Derby. We've gone to the far north. We're talking Punjab. Let's come a little bit further south, shall we, to Delhi. I think they'd be glad they're here. It's 49.5 degrees when I last heard in Delhi. So I'm not sure the players would like it if they were there, but they're in the cooler climes of Navi Mumbai at the moment. What have Delhi done? They've made 2 changes to their team, Joy. And we were wondering, does Prithvi come back? Does he not? Answer still no, still unwell. Zafraz Khan at the top. That's an interesting one. Khalil coming back was a no-brainer because it was just about whether the hammy's okay.
Yeah, I think Khalil coming back. I think here we have a different team. I think they've discovered their best bowling combination. Their batting combination without Prithvi there. I mean, the only reason this team is 6-6 is thanks to the fact that, you know, Warner has given them what they expected of Warner. But I think Mitch Marsh and Rovman Powell starting to sort of exert themselves, you know, starting to put pressure. That's really made a difference to this team, because Powell, if you remember, was a bit of a hit and miss in the beginning of the tournament. Mitch Marsh wasn't there. He was injured. These 2 coming back has made a huge difference to the team. Now, think about it. They do a match or 2, and finally, if Prithvi comes in, you know, and he gives them a couple of starts at the end, this is also a really good team. They're also pretty close to finding their, you know, top 11 as well. And I think Marsh being at 3 and flowering, and Rovman at 5 has really given this team a lot more to think about, you know.
I think Joyce just hit the nail on the head. Those 2 names that he just mentioned, in our preview, we talked a lot about Mitch Marsh, and if Mitch Marsh is bowling, it's even better news for him, for Australia, for this franchise. But Rovman as well, a bit of a revelation. But let's talk about Marsh first, Lisa.
Yeah, it's been great to kind of see him develop. He's always been touted as a wonderful all-rounder, in and out of the Australian Test side. Because of that, hasn't really cemented that spot. But it was almost last year around this time that he started to really put his hand up for Australian colours in T20 cricket. And the confidence that he has gained from that into the T20 World Cup, and then also continue through the Australian summer, means that he's ready to go. He understands his game now, and is able to be consistent with the bat in hand, which is great. And I like the fact that he's up the order a little bit more. So I think the Perth Scorchers, he kind of bats at 4 or 3. So he's starting to get used to that position as well, not down at 5 or 6 in that finishing role. He's a much better batter than that, and he's shown that in this IPL as well.
Yeah, we've been crying out for him to come at the top. If only the folks in Lucknow can sort out their own Australian conundrum with a chap called Marcus Stoinis. Look at Lisa's reaction. It's a pet peeve over there. Stoinis himself must be confused what he has to do. They call him the Hulk, but he has no influence in that dressing room yet.
No, he doesn't. But let's not talk about it, because I get frustrated talking about it. But one thing I do want to talk about is Zafraz Khan. You know, I've seen him over the years be in franchises and not be given opportunities, or be given 1 or 2. And the same thing probably this year as well. A guy who constantly scores runs at domestic cricket. I don't know, Joy, do you think opening we might see the best of him?
Yeah, I mean, he's exactly what you said. You know, every year I hope, because he's a dominating player in the international scene. I mean, in the domestic scene. He's dominating. He tears apart attacks. He scores at a ridiculous strike rate. His first class, forget list A, his first class batting average over the last 2 years out of the charts. So, I always feel he gets cute very early. And he's a good enough batsman not to need to get too cute. So you're probably absolutely right, Lisa. The moment those fields stay in and he can hit a few conventional shots and still not have to start scooping early on and still do it, I think that will make a huge difference. I think Zafraz for me is potential which is waiting to be unlocked. Similarly, the last time, I was sitting on the auction table when we were discussing Mitch Marsh in the big auction of 2011, saying this is the next big thing. It's been 11 years and he sort of spluttered there and shown a little here and shown a little there. Of course, internationally, he's done better, but he hasn't really taken that IPL. From those 11 years on, we've been wondering when will Marsh claim his place as one of the top all-rounders in the world. And it's the closest to happening that it ever has been this year.
Well, we've seen him do it in the bright orange jersey of the flaming Perth Scorchers. Why should he not do it here? But we've taken it for granted that because Zafraz is in the team and because there's no Prithvi Shaw, and he's a like-for-like replacement in a sense, is he your obvious choice as opener, Lisa? Or could they think left field and look at someone else?
Well, I think, they've already tried two other players as well, Bharat, and it hasn't fired. You're losing a wicket within the first 1 or 2 overs. So I like this. I think this might be a bit more of a left field, maybe because Zafraz Khan doesn't normally open. Maybe I'm not sure where he bats in domestic cricket. So I think this is another choice. I think this is the third one other than Prithvi. So why not try it? Nothing to lose, because if he gets out early, Dave Warner and Mitch Marsh have already done this for a few games already, been able to kind of stabilise and still go at a good quick rate.
But how different it is from the last time we saw Zafraz in the team. Joy, if I remember right, it was a game against Kolkata at the Brabant Stadium. He was all padded up. He was sitting next to Ricky Ponting. And every time a wicket fell, you just thought, the big man's going to get up. And he's still sitting. Next wicket, he's still sitting. He never came on.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, that I still think they haven't unlocked him. And that's why, look, he's good enough, and he's obviously showing them stuff in the practice nets, because they pick him every year. It's not as if they've given up on him, but somehow he's not getting that big game. But remember, we had a little bit of a situation like that with Yashasvi as well. If you remember the last couple of years starting, and he looked as if he has potential, not doing it. Yashasvi, I think this year has finally got that chance, and he's getting bigger innings together. So I'm wondering whether this is Zafraz's chance. I hope it is, because he's easily one of the most talented players Mumbai has produced in a long, long time.
Yeah, but I think, just to conclude, are Delhi going to feel the absence of Prithvi Shaw? It's all very well to say Marsh is playing well, but you can't just tell yourself that the first wicket is a sacrificial lamb and we're ready to be 10 for 1 every single time.
No, you can't, and you need someone to be able to go with Dave Warner. So it doesn't put
look at these numbers. This tells you the story.
Because you can't expect David Warner to catch up on the other one that's missing out. So that's the other issue as well, that you want David Warner to play his natural game. And with Prithvi Shaw there, and Prithvi, when they were opening, he was almost the one that was going quicker and earlier. So, and the numbers showed that, Warner and Prithvi Shaw, it was a good combination. We thought it was, even before they walked out on the park, that those two would actually gel nicely. And it has happened. So let's hope that Delhi continue and find their way into the finals, which means potentially Prithvi Shaw comes back in as well.
Well, finding their way into the finals means it's basically a face-off here. It's basically a playoff. I wasn't just trying to be cute when I said in the red corner or in the blue corner, because this could well be a knockout punch for one of the two teams. Why? Have a look at the points table. Delhi on 12 and 12. Punjab on 12 and 12. The North Indians like to hang out together. But what it does mean is the team that loses, Joy, can only get to 14 points. And despite the best efforts of Sir Sean Pollock, 14 points is not probably going to cut it. Chairman of scenarios.com.
Chairman of scenarios.com. I just checked. There is actually a 3% chance of even Kolkata making it if they win their 7th game.
Stop it, Joy.
It's a 3% chance. See, what it does is...
I was
Yeah,
going
go
to
on.
say, Joy, everyone in Cricbuzz offices are very happy that you said that. It doesn't matter what the percent is.
Wait, I've got my calculator out here. 3% chance. And let me try and figure out what that works out to. Oh, dear. Okay, we leave it for now. Carry on, Joy.
But no, seriously, what happens in this match is today's winner keeps their future in their hands. Today's loser basically needs to depend on other results, no matter what they do in the final. And I think that's important. That if you win today, it's in your hands. Whatever happens, you can win the last one by a big margin and you'll make it. But
I'm willing to accept that, Joy, but can we actually, what is the scenario we're looking at? Can we put up the points table one more time?
Yeah.
Because before yesterday's result, if Rajasthan had not won yesterday, it was a 14 party. Everyone was going to put 14 on their jerseys and it was one big party. After the Rajasthan victory, how do you still see a 14 qualifier?
see, what happens is Bangalore needs to lose. Okay. Bangalore needs to lose. Delhi cannot win more than one. Punjab cannot win more than one. Okay. Kolkata win theirs. That's basically what needs to happen.
Not bad. That's not too bad, Lisa, actually.
Yep. And then if you kind of go based on that, Bangalore are not going through because they had negative 0.3.
Yeah.
Can we bring that up again? Pretty please, Mr. Producer. And then where have we got? Kolkata might go up because they'll win, won't they? Delhi and Punjab. So, I mean, it's getting, I reckon it's between then potentially, if that's the case, Delhi and Kolkata, unless Punjab have a big victory.
Yeah,
Yep.
Delhi and
If
Kolkata
Delhi
will take
wins
that.
today,
No problem.
if Delhi wins today, they put themselves, because they're going to even add to their run rate after that. Then they really put themselves into a really good position. If Delhi win today, they are looking really good. That even if they get stuck on 7, they have a chance of edging out everyone else. Of course, that depends on Bangalore losing its last game. And
Lisa, don't say that too loudly because
I know.
you know which city you're in. You can't be
know.
walking around the streets of Bangalore going, Bangalore might be eliminated.
No. A few people have actually said to me as well, actually, they don't want either of these teams to have any points. It makes it a hell of a lot easier for Bangalore.
Exactly. Exactly. I can say what I like. I left last night or this morning, so I'm fine.
Yeah. No, I'm in trouble, so I'll keep my mouth shut.
Well done. What about all of you? All of you like to have your say. Hashtag Ask Cricbuzz Live. Get your questions coming in. We promise we'll feature them. If it's a good question, they generally are. Yash Tharmani says, under KL Rahul, Punjab didn't breach the 6-win mark for 4 seasons. Mayank Agarwal has led them to 6 wins already with a chance to potentially make the playoffs. How do you rate Mayank's captaincy in comparison to KL Rahul's? It's probably the age-old question, Joy. I come to you first on this. Is a captain as good as his team? Or can there be an X factor? Does Mayank have that X factor?
Look, I genuinely subscribe to the fact that some are very captain-led teams, some are very coach-led teams, and some, when they get together well, I think it matters. So I think the teams that this is a very coach-led team. This is very much Anil Kumble's team rather than Mayank Agarwal's team. And Mayank is somebody who's an executor. Of course, I hate to use that word, on the ground for what Kumble's vision of this team is, rather than the other way around. I mean, it's exactly the opposite, say, in a place like Chennai, where, it's somebody like Dhoni who controls the team. So Mayank so far has not shown us anywhere where he would think that he's, really come into his own. I think also Anil being, great cricketer, legend, but also a dominating personality. And he has a very clear vision. This is what I want to do with the team. So I think Mayank's captaincy is being competent, but it's hardly set the world on fire. In fact, the one place where we've seen captain and coach really, sync well together, they're really flying. Go and have a look at the Gujarat team. And you'll see both on the ground, where he's standing on the boundary line, they're chatting with each other. You can make out that that's one team where captain and coach are like absolutely in sync. And look at the difference it's making.
The only issue there, Joy, is that when it comes to 2 of the coaches, Ashish Nehra, Gary Kirsten, they have not managed to sync their dinner timings yet. Because Ashish Nehra has his meetings till about 4 o'clock in the morning. Gary says, I'm done at midnight. And between 12 and 4, there's a bit of a void. But they're still doing okay, Lisa.
Yeah, they're going really well. I mean, having captained before, that relationship with your head coach is so crucial. It's okay to differ on different things and maybe strategy, but together you have to be seen as a front with the side, that you're working together. No one should ever see the fractions that you may have or the disagreements. With Mayank, I feel like he like Joy was saying, he's competent, but he's not a strong leader. And by that, I mean, he hasn't got a presence when he's out there in the field. And I'm not saying you have to. You can go about it different ways. That's the great thing about cricket, whether it be tactically or even your leadership. But he doesn't feel like he's kind of leading the way. His performances have been poor, and I feel for him in that turn. But also, even you get a sense that it's like Johnny Bairstow, some of the international, some of the other senior players are really kind of standing up, and they're all actually working together. So maybe it's more of, Anil Kumble, but also a leadership group that's working together to execute the plans.
One more question I'll throw at you, Joy, in terms of a few decisions. I mean, if you look at, for example, the handling of Odean Smith, you could say that could be a coach or a captain's call. But what about something like Mayank Agarwal dropping himself down the order? Would that have been maybe nudged by Anil Kumble, or just him saying, listen, this is what I think I should do?
I think this is a team meeting decision. I mean, even as a captain, you wouldn't take that decision alone. You wouldn't say, I'm going to drop myself down the order, because it's a big decision. Especially in the forms of cricket, T20 cricket, who opens batters 1, 2, 3, 4 is a disproportionately important decision. It's a hugely important decision simply because who are you giving the maximum number of balls exposure to? And I think that cannot, even if Mayank said, coach, I'm going to drop myself down the order, it's not a decision you take alone. All these guys will be involved in it. They'll be sitting together and said, what, Johnny's informed. Let's give him a run at the top. Let's do that. Let's try 2 matches. Let's see where it goes. Rajapaksa, let's slot him back in. Let's get Odean out. Now Rishi Dhawan is going to give us that role. So all these are collective decisions. I cannot see Mayank taking this decision in isolation. I honestly can't.
Well, Lisa, since JB has talked about JB, as in Joy Bhattacharjya, has talked about Johnny Bairstow, let's discuss the fact that he was crying to bat up the order. Maybe crying in a slightly different accent that not everyone can understand. But now that he's got the message across to everyone, they're like, okay, Johnny B, up the order you go. Look at the difference. 164.
I mean, it just didn't make sense him having him in the middle, given that he's already had success in the IPL for Hyderabad, opening the batting. Just too destructive, capitalizes on the power play, but then once he gets in, he goes big. He strikes it so well throughout all the different phases. So he needed that extra time. He probably needed the field to be in so he can capitalize, and that's how he gets his innings going. He didn't look as comfortable in coming down the order.
And obviously that's a sacrifice, as you said, Joy, could maybe a team decision, but probably when it comes to getting everything right, I know Punjab have been the team that tend to drop players, and they've had a bit of a WL, but so have Delhi. So it's one of those scenarios that they're looking at. Both teams have had it, but I think they're looking the more settled lineup at the moment with Bairstow and Shikhar Dhawan, Rajapaksa, and then, of course, the big man, the double L to follow.
Yeah, look, I think their top 4 is the best in the tournament at this point in time. And it is, because if the run rate backs it up, all the data backs it up. They are playing the game, the kind of game they want to play. And if you see that top 5 that's as good, Jitesh Sharma is giving them really good performances. And people don't tend to realize that Jitesh Sharma in the last Syed Mustaq Ali tournament hit the maximum sixes. He hit 18 sixes. So he's not that he's just a flash in the pan. He's just come here and producing runs. He's capable of doing that consistently. Look, I have to say something. To be honest with you, both these teams, if you ask on paper, both these teams can actually make a real run in the tournament. Both of them have decent bowling resources and significant batting resources. If Delhi comes back, if Prithvi comes back, and Delhi qualify, Delhi is a solid team at the business end of the tournament. Just look at them. Kuldeep, Akshar Patel. You've got really good fast bowlers. Khalil is going well for you. Nokia is just beginning to come in. Look at that team. Shardul Thakur has still not done his best. And look at that top order. Warner, Prithvi comes back. Mitch Marsh, Rishabh Pant, Robin Powell, Lalit Yadav giving them some variety. These are teams that can be really long, make really long runs in the tournament. I mean, if you compare this batting side in order to say even a Gujarat, I'd say Gujarat is 10-3, but they are playing out their skins. They are just playing incredible cricket.
But we've obviously, for obvious reasons, we've gravitated towards the batting, because when it comes to Punjab, you really can't look beyond the flair of Rajapaksa, Bairstow at the top, Liam Livingstone hitting sixes out of the stadium, disturbing the neighbours. But what about the bowling? Where, Lisa, do you see the strength in the bowling? Kagiso Rabada stand out. We're looking at some of the serious bowling contenders in this year's tournament on both sides. Arshdeep Singh, Kagiso Rabada.
Yeah, I mean, Arshdeep Singh as well, you look at him and what he's been able to do at the death more than anything. He's been able to really be so effective. The economy rate, 7.89, is just outstanding. Yeah, he's not picking up the wickets, but talk about the partnership of these two bowling in the death. Between them, they've picked up 12. Rabada is the one that takes the most wickets, 9. And it's probably because Arshdeep's economy rate is so low as well. And obviously Rabada, as a senior international bowler, knows where to bowl, has been able to execute. So they've been a standout. And it's great to see, an international bowler and an Indian player, a young Indian fast bowler, just learning the skills and trades together and blending nicely from a bowling point. Because we always talk about the batters.
Yeah, I mean, if you had to just pick in one way, which bowling attack impresses you more? Delhi, Punjab. Joy?
Look, tough one, really tough one. I'm actually, because I love Delhi's spin resources, I love Punjab's, the fast bowling resources. But yeah, it's a really tough one. I'd go for Punjab in a pinch, simply because Rahul Chahar as well gives them that extra something there. I think he's a superb bowler. I think they're just a little bit ahead. Delhi's top 4 bowlers are excellent. Nokia, Khalid Ahmed, I think, gives you something. Akshar Patel, Kuldeep Yadav. Their fifth falls off a bit. I think, they need Lalit. If Mitch Marsh can bowl, and, then they'll probably get a little bit more out of it. Mitch Marsh as a bowler has still not really given them much. And Shardul is also having an off season, and Shardul had a terrific season with Chennai last year. He's just not the same Shardul this year.
Well, at least Mitch Marsh gives them the option. So does Rovman Powell, if they should so choose. He does it a lot in the Caribbean. Maybe he hasn't quite spoken to the management yet about his bowling skills. He bowled once, I think, early in the tournament. But for the moment, the battle about to commence, we have the news that Zafraz Khan has joined David Warner out there. So there's no experimentation. It's no Srikar Bharat. It's Zafraz Khan opening the batting. Joy, it's over to you to tell us what is your brain teaser for the day.
I think I've got not easy. I'm not sure. Okay, yeah. I just found it interesting. People play under a lot of captains. This is a fast bowler who's played more than 50 tests. So that's quite a substantial number. Played it all under just one test captain.
All right. Which fast bowler played more than 50 tests under just one captain? That's going to be an interesting one. Meanwhile, Joy, give us a little teaser onto Retro Reels for any of you who have not been familiar with it. Hashtag get onto Cricbuzz Plus now. Subscribe. Oh, look at that. I love that pose.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that pose. Hold it there.
How many times did you have to, throw the ball back and forth, Joy? Come on, tell us.
Yeah. I think that was part of it. Getting those things right was actually more difficult. I mean, content-wise, there's so much fun we had looking at, unknown stuff. And, the fun we had was actually connecting stuff up, like the Premiership and filmmakers like Satyajit Ray. What do they have in common with, say, somebody like a Rohit Sharma, their love for Kolkata? Just putting things together. It was a lot of fun. The most difficult part of it was the photo shoot.
No, I can tell you, Lisa, Joy lies. Yeah. He's a one-take wonder. And the photo shoot lasted as long as David Warner's innings today. So
he's won.
Is he out?
First ball.
Oh.
Just in case you were wondering. Go on, got him.
Got him.
That's it. Warner gone. And guess who got him? Liam Livingstone.
Whoa.
Yeah. Surprise bowler thrown in. Warner wasn't expecting it. Liam's come in. So Big Mitch is out to join Zafraz Khan. It's going to be a round 1 to Punjab. Let's see if Delhi come back with a knockout punch. So in the light of that, ladies and gentlemen, or lady and gentlemen, what is our score going to be in 20 overs? Lisa, you can go first.
Well, I'm going to go down. I was going to go 190 now that David Warner's out. I'm going to go 179.
All right. Just 11 runs reduced for David Warner.
I'm going to stay with her original score, 190. I have a feeling somebody else will put up their hands today.
Right. I was going to be extremely cheeky and say 115, but that's a bit too much. So I'll go somewhere in between. That's a little too ridiculous.
No, go on, do it if you want.
No, not 115. I'll go a little bit low. I'll go for 151. 151. 151. Yep. And that is in the light of knowing that David Warner's gone first ball, but that's the news we have for you. Zafraz Khan, Mitchell Marsh out there. It is the first over being bowled by Liam Livingstone. So Mayank Agarwal has thrown the first curve ball, whether it's a Kumble curve ball or his own. That's up to you to try and figure out. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Lisa. All of you. Remember, you can join us in the 10th over for Cricbuzz Combox, and we will, of course, be back at the halfway stage to see which of us has won the prediction contest. For now, from Cricbuzz Live, that's all we have.